So, today we're going to talk about how to set up notifications for forms when they've been submitted. That is actually available in several areas. If you want to set it up on an individual basis per form, you can actually go to this little drop down menu on the form itself, and then you get a couple options here. First, we're actually going to pop into My Notifications. Those are actually just going to set it up for yourself only. So it automatically knows it's going to send it to you. If you click turn on here, it will give you an option to choose what type you want. So whether that comes through email or the push notification through the app, you can toggle on all of them if you would like. And then once you have that set up, you can also limit down certain responses. So if you only are over a certain area and there's that location field within the form, you can also add a condition that is based off of a selection within the form to limit what data you receive or notification you receive accordingly. So we'll actually just use that instance real quick. So if you add a condition here, it'll give you an option to choose one from the form. So in my form, I have location, service lines, things like that. I'm just going to choose my location field here. And then it gives me a drop down to select a certain location. So if I'm in the OKC location and I only want to see when they select the OKC location in this AED inspection to come over to me, I can hit continue here, and then now it will only send me those responses when that location is selected. Otherwise, if you just want to receive anytime this form is submitted, you'll just go ahead and click save. But I do want to also explain what updates does. So if a user has access to submit the form and then they can view that form response and then also edit it and resubmit it and make any changes basically to that submitted form response, that would be considered an update. So if you want to get another notification, if that form is being edited over time, that's what the send updates button does. So determining if you just want that initial notification when the form is submitted, or if you also want it to notify you every time that form's been edited and resubmitted, you can also check this box as well. Otherwise, if I don't want that, I just want that initial one. I want my push notification and email for all responses. I'm just going to go ahead and click save here, and then it should show up right here where you can kind of edit it if you need to or toggle it off accordingly from here. For now, I'm going to just remove that. And then we'll go back and I want to show you the second option, which is the group notifications. Group notifications are my favorite. Honestly, I don't personally like setting them up under the individual basis just because it's a little bit harder to find them, but you can set them up easier on a group basis. So on the group notifications, you can click into here on the little drop down menu for this individual form as well. Go into the group notifications, and it's actually very similar. It's just going to give you a little bit more options in here and a little bit more bonus items, which I personally like. So once we click add on here, it again gives you the option to say, do you want it for all responses or do you only want to select certain locations and things like that? And I'll show you some bonus features in this too, where you can actually divvy it out accordingly by location. So let's use that use case of instead of having it to divvy it by the OKC location and then choose my individuals I want to send to, typically, you're not going to send it to everyone. You're going to click into here. And then there are conditions you can add based off of the form as well. So, for example, if I add a condition here, I can actually choose that location field called field office in this use case and say that if the form's location is selected and it matches my field office, I want to receive a copy. So I can hit continue here. Now, that would be every employee, of course, as long as they have permissions to view the form response to be able to see all the form or receive this notification for all the forms in that location that were selected in the form. So you can go another layer deeper. That's actually these and or conditions. So either or can be true on the employee's profile, but if you build out an and condition, that means that both of those items need to be true. So for example, I don't want to send it to all my employees. Maybe I also want to send it to only upper management. So then I can add another layer and build that hierarchy by doing this and condition here, and then saying that if their role, or you can go job title, really again, anything based off their profile data, as long as you have that data point loaded in there, you can divvy it out accordingly from here. So I have that role here. And in this use case, I'm just going to say I only want to send it to them if they're in the super admin role, the admin role, or manager role. But my lower level roles, they don't need to get notified for these form responses accordingly. So now you can see it brings it down a lot, about 100 people roughly, so that you can kind of build out that hierarchy as you see fit. Also, another bonus is on just adding an employee. There's a few things that come into play, such as if there is a drop down in the form for tied to your employee listing, it will automatically pick up that selection, and then you can send notifications accordingly to there, whoever selected in the form, such as this one has an inspected by selection field tied to your employee list that allows me to send it to the person that is selected in that form. When you do choose that option, it does show 0 people because technically the form's not being filled out right now. But if you have that set up and whoever selected in that drop down automatically gets the notification once the form is submitted. Also, who submitted it automatically, forms observer. So if you ever see observer, just think that's the user logged in submitting the form. So if you want whoever submitted the form to automatically get a copy of it, you can do that as well. Of course, individual basis as well, where I can say, Elena, myself, I need to get a copy of this form every time it's submitted. Again, the updates option here, where it's just a quick yes, no checkbox, and then a little bit easier on this side where you can just check mobile and it includes, iOS or Android. You don't have to do that extra click on this one. Again, a little bit more why it's my favorite. Also, so that's on an individual basis for forms. But personally, I like to go to the group notifications as an overall whole because you can go into each of these on an individual basis and quickly add one, which is really nice. But where all of those are housed, if you want to set them up for all forms instead of having to tediously go through this menu option, click group notifications, there is an option to do this for all forms as a whole. So that is actually housed under your control panel here. And then it's under the forms heading. So if I scroll down a little bit, you're going to see this forms heading here. And then it's actually the second one down. So the only reason it's called group notifications is because you can send it to a group of users, but just think it's actually notifications for forms. So once that form's submitted, I want to get a copy of it. So if you click into this section here, now you'll be able to see every single form within your site and be able to set them up on a whole basis without having to go into them individually. Works very similar as I just showed you. The only difference is you get the whole page here where you can actually go in and add one. They are in alphabetical order again, as stated, so that you can easily find the name of the form. Again, I don't want to toggle it to everyone within my site. And then I am going to, going to add the forms inspected by, because I want to show you what that looks like via email when it comes over to me and show you what the actual notification comes over like. So I'm going to go ahead and save that notification. And then I'm going to go ahead and go fill out this form so that we can see the notification. Click fill out on our AED inspection. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use my name as inspected by so that I get that email. And then I'm going to go through and I'm just going to type in some data so that we can move through this pretty quickly here. So I'm just going to say everything is satisfactory, choose my date of expiration here. Electrode pads. I have no comments, and then I'm going to sign off and then submit this. So now I should get a notification shortly emailing me a copy of this. And I just got it, so I'll pull up my email off to the side here. So the nice thing about the notifications is it does have the name of the title as well as who submitted it. And then it does show a whole copy of everything submitted within the body of the email, which is really nice. And then it does give you a link to view it online, which takes you right into the form, as well as a copy to download via PDF if you need to as well. One thing to be aware of that is very important for setting up notifications, this will be dependent on if they have access to view responses for that particular form. And that is housed again under the control panel roles and permissions. If they do not have access to view responses, it will still allow you to set up a group notification to go out to them, but then it is again going to lean heavily on the site on what access they have on whether or not it will send out that notification accordingly from there. So if I scroll down to on my roles and permissions grid to the forms section here, which should be just past the training here, it is actually going to be this permission on whether they have view responses or not. So just be mindful of that if you are setting up a notification and then someone says they don't have it. A couple of things, obviously make sure their email's right, make sure they have view responses, and then lastly, make sure IT isn't blocking anything in any sort of fashion related to kpaehs.com. Another way you can check for notifications for the users if they've gone out is actually finding their profile. So I can look up someone's profile here and go click on their name. It will bring up their profile, and then I can click on their little envelope icon to confirm if they've received that or not. So if they click on that envelope icon, that will give them a list or give you a list as an admin of messages that actually went out to them where I can confirm it did successfully send. So if you don't see it in here, then chances are they don't have access to view responses, or maybe something else, it's not meeting the condition, or something we need to investigate further on why they didn't get the copy of it accordingly. So also another nice double check through here where you can confirm that it's been sent out to the user. The last thing to cover with notifications is there's not a way to customize that message whenever it goes out, but there are kind of items you can toggle on to show within the subject line. So it makes it a little bit easier on what location it came from or certain items within the form. It's actually a toggle within the fields itself under the edit mode of the form. So to explain a little bit further, if I edit this form here, and I actually want to see what location, I want the location to show in the body, or excuse me, yeah, in the subject line. I want the message to show in the subject line the location that's been selected within this form. To do that, I can actually edit my location field, and I can actually go to my advanced tab here and I can show on alerts. And if you click on the info bubble, it does say this. It will show up on the email subject line, the push notification, and it really should be a task description. So if you have a task assigned, it will also show within the task as well, which is super helpful if you need to show a little bit more data on that subject line or email notification. So I'll toggle that one on. Maybe I also want to know what AED is inspected without having to scroll through the form to look at it. So I also am going to toggle that one on as well. So now I have a couple of them toggled on, and you saw the initial notification. I'm going to go ahead and save this and fill out a new one here to show you what that would look like whenever it comes over with those items on the form accordingly from there. So again, I'll have to fill out the form here and choose my name so that I get a copy of that notification since it is determined based off of who it is inspected by. The location I'm going to choose as Norman. I'm going to choose the office location. I'm going to say AED 12345. And then from here, I don't have my other fields mandatory, so we'll just go ahead and submit this form. And then now I should get a copy in my email, and it just popped up pretty instantly. Now the difference here, before it didn't show my Norman location, the AED number. So as you can see now, it added those within the subject line. So at least I can see a little bit more information rather than having to scroll through the form, which you can still see it down below, but gives you a little bit more indication of what's going on or what location this was submitted for. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to our support team at support@kpaehs.com.